Welcome back to National Report on this special Veterans Day edition. A live look here in Arlington National Cemetery, where President Trump is set to speak this morning. We are honoring all of our nation's veterans, and we're so grateful for your sacrifice and service.
Absolutely. We thank all the men and women who have served on this Veterans Day and who continue to serve. We'll bring in Colonel Terry Virts, retired from the U.S. Air Force and a former NASA astronaut, to chat with us a bit about this. John Vick is still with us as well. Thank you so much, Colonel, for coming on, and thank you first and foremost for your service. As we just watched the wreath-laying ceremony, now moves into the remarks. We'll hear from several speakers. Can you share a little bit about Veterans Day, what that means to you, and what it means to your family, too?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on and for honoring our veterans today. I appreciate Newsmax for doing that. Veterans Day to me always meant a time to remember what our fallen soldiers had done. I was based in Europe flying F-16s. And traveling around Europe, I would always go stop by the American military cemeteries. They're in Luxembourg, Belgium, France. The one in Normandy is especially poignant. So I would always go visit there and just pay tribute to the folks who went before me. And it was always so sad to think about all of these millions of 18-year-olds and 20-year-olds Americans who went to Europe. They didn't know they were leaving the farm. They had been mechanics. And they went over to Europe to fight and die for freedom, to fight against fascism and tyranny. And that really makes me proud to be an American, and also very sad to think of all that we missed out on. You know, how many CEOs were killed on the beaches at Normandy, how many doctors and how many, medical advances did we lose out on? So I appreciate their sacrifice, and I think about what the world lost from these great young men and women who have given their all.
Yeah, absolutely. A great reminder of, what could have been. And of course, the family members that would have also been sacrificing so much, the loss of a loved one. And I know on Memorial Day, we really do hone in on that, but we are reminded on this Veterans Day as well. I'm intrigued by your story, of course, serving in the Air Force, and then that leading you to NASA as an astronaut here. Could you walk us through maybe the values or traits that you learned in service and how you applied that to the next stage in your career?
Yeah, I thank you for that. So the Air Force has some great values: integrity first, service before self, excellence in all we do. So I try and live by those. I'm retired now. I retired several years ago from the Air Force. But I had the privilege, I got to do my boyhood dream. I got to become an astronaut. Well, first I got to be an F-16 pilot and then test pilot and astronaut. And it was awesome. And I'm very thankful for the chance I had. I thank Americans for spending their taxpayer dollars to send me on these space missions. And there's a lot of benefits that come from those space missions to everyday Americans. But I think what we did at NASA in terms of space exploration with robots and also astronauts, it's really the best of what America can do. It's what we can be. You know what? When I was in the Air Force or when I was at NASA, I didn't ask the engineers who were working on my spaceship, or I didn't ask the crew chief who was getting my F-16 ready if they were a Republican or Democrat. I didn't even know. I didn't care. And these days, there's so much that divide us. But I think honoring Veterans Day, Veterans on Veterans Day, is a way to help remind us that, hey, man, we're Americans. Democrats aren't the enemy, or Republicans aren't the enemy, like Al-Qaeda is, or Russia and China. Those are the enemies. We're Americans. We're together. And I hope with all this division, I hope Veterans Day this year can bring us back together just a little bit.
We would all love a unified moment, a unifying moment, undoubtedly, as you pointed out. And it does make me think back to, the 9/11 terror attacks in 2001, where everyone was American at that point. I mean, the day after, political party be damned. It was
right.
It was America first. It was patriotism. It was flags, everywhere. We have been fortunate enough to not have. We've obviously underwent catastrophes and attacks here and there, but nothing like 9/11 for sure. And with that comes time and division, but nothing that has been unifying thus far. Though Veterans Day can seem to do that. I can tell you one thing that's unifying. I got to stop myself from drooling over here because that's my boyhood dream: flying F-16s and spaceships, and you were able to do it. I'm like, wow, this is pretty amazing. Can I ask you a personal question? I don't know how personal it is, I guess, because you were in the plane with the name on it. Did you have a call sign, and what was that?
I did. It was Flanders, like Homer Simpson's Christian neighbor, Ned Flanders. There wasn't a good. I probably should have been Homer, but there was not a good. I didn't ever do anything wrong, like I was when I was younger, and so they just came up with Flanders, and everybody laughed. But you remind me of a really funny story. After 9/11, it was a tragedy, but George W. Bush was going through New York. He did the famous speech with the bullhorn. These people who did this are going to hear us. And Rudy Giuliani was taking him through, and he said, nobody in this neighborhood voted for you. Everybody voted for the Democrat. And it was a funny story about a tragic time where that tragedy brought us all together. So I hope we can get unified without something like 9/11. God help us. We don't need that again. Mm-hmm. And thank you to all the soldiers who served for the last. We've been in combat in the Middle East for well over 30 years. When I started my military career, Operation Desert Shield began. And then we're still there today. And so thank you to the folks who have sacrificed a lot to prevent another 9/11 from happening.
Yeah, indeed. Well said. Could you share maybe a final message to the next generation, folks who might want to follow your career path and might think it could be quite difficult to do so, but what would you tell them?
Yeah, a lot of folks get down and, especially older people were like, the kids today, back in my day, it was much better. I did a graduation speech recently for an F-35 squadron at Luke Air Force Base. And these young kids, they're, 22, 23 years old. They're so smart. They're so patriotic. They're so dedicated. So my hope for America is actually in our young people. I think we have some great young people. We need to do things to help them out, like less debt would be a good thing. But my hope in the young people that I've met, they're awesome. And so that's my hope for America. Serve your country. You've been given so much. All of us Americans have been given so much. There's different ways to give back. You can serve in the military, you can teach, you can become a policeman, you can just become a good citizen and do well at whatever the job is that you have. But really appreciate America. We've been blessed so much, and give back in some way.
Well, look, this means a lot to us. We thank you for that. And, we have to recognize just how difficult. I think it's only 2%, something like that. You can correct me, that actually get their wings. When they actually, that's why they went to OTS. They want to fly. But not everybody gets to do what you did. I just think for those that may not understand what you were able to accomplish, it really is huge. Just final thought there.
Thank you. So I do a lot of speaking, and one of the lesson that I give, the advice that I give to young people and old people alike is don't tell yourself no. If you have some dream that you want to do, don't tell yourself no. That's the first step. If it's a big dream, like becoming an Air Force pilot or becoming a doctor or whatever, or becoming a Newsmax presenter.
Thank you.
There's a lot. You guys this isn't your first job out of college, right? There's things you have to do. So whatever your dream is, if it's a big one, you're going to have to do the hard work. But the first step is don't tell yourself no.
All right.
Love it.
I love it. Great stuff there. Terry, very interesting. I see you're running for Congress here. I don't want to ignore the fact, and you mentioned politics several times, even differing political views, Democrats, Republicans alike. Did you just want to give a final word on that, and then we'll let you go for today?
Well, thank you for offering that. I'm running for the 9th Congressional District here in Texas. It's a very working class district, which I grew up in a family of union members, and my district is refineries, it's Houston shipping and farmers. So I want to represent those working class people. If folks want to support me, terryvirts.com. I have a pretty cool launch video. They can see my, a little bit of my story and who I am. But there's a Bible verse: to those who much has been given, much will be expected. I've been given a lot by this country, and I want to serve. I want to continue to serve. So I'm running for Congress. terryvirts.com. Check it out. And thank you guys for having me on today.
Flanders.
Flanders, yes.
Pretty cool. All right. Thank you so much, Colonel. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, President Trump, again, we're just awaiting him